kick off with by talk about inclusion. So one thing, what we saw about in this McKinsey report was that companies seems to increasingly be successful on bringing in a diverse group of people. So the recruitment phase is happening. Um, but what seems to fail is the inclusion. And this is really where the philosophy is put into action. That's why it's a bit discouraging to see. So the recruitment, the good intentions are there, but there seems to be a drop off about the feeling inclusive and belonging when you actually get into the company. And what that means is, of course, that you have a higher rotation of staff because they don't feel belong
Yes.
to the company. So it can
Right.
actually have a real cost. And we talked in some of the previous episode about that there's not just from a humane perspective that of course your companies should reflect the outside world and your customers uh, um, as a natural ambition, but there's also the financial part of it. That there are
Mm-hmm.
we have mentioned examples before where we've seen companies who failed at driving a proper D&I agenda within their company, where they've had real
Yeah.
financial impact on them. And that has just been confirmed in that report year after year only. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a
Mm-hmm.
shame that companies are not understanding that. And what I conclude out of that is really that in order to really obtain the financial advantage of it, you got to
Mm-hmm.
authentically own the D&I. It's not just about filling a scorecard. It's about
Yeah.
keeping the philosophy alive once they have been hired into the company, that you take it further, because that is the only place where you actually see the benefits. So if companies out there thinking, oh, we just need to bring in a diverse, hiring
Yeah.
policy,
That's
then
right.
we are safe on our financial targets. That's not the case. You need to have an authentic, real
Mm-hmm.
ambition to drive inclusivity of work, because the
Well,
whole reason where this performance, the financial advantage of the D&I is coming into play is when people can perform, and they only perform if they truly feel they belong and are included in that company.
I think you're 100% right. I think we got a couple of pieces here we're talking about. We're talking about inclusion is a huge piece, right? We've got diversity. We have the case for diversity. We know it's about different people that are more than the dominant group in the organization, right? So we get that. How do we keep them there? So here's that second piece. So we got the inclusion, and then I say it's the sustainability piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do we see if you can sustain your workforce
Yeah.
by acts of inclusion, then you are more likely for your diverse group to move up in the ranks
Yeah.
and become those executive senior positions
Mm-hmm.
where they weren't before. And
Yeah.
you're right. It's if you are really about your diversity and inclusion agenda, people might want to call it diversity, inclusion, and belonging agenda,
Mm-hmm.
then you have to make it an agenda. I was talking to Veronica, again, I'll mention her name because she's a change management expert. And she said, diversity and inclusion is a change initiative. I said, absolutely. I was
Mm.
writing a paper in my master's class last term on change and how diversity and inclusion must be considered. It should be your biggest consideration in this era that we are living in.
Yes.
Diversity and inclusion, if you are initiating a change, creating a change initiative, you got to look inside, you got to see what's missing, and that's where that data comes from. So when people say, oh, it's just a tick box exercise, or you're looking at the statistics, your data and everything, it's good to know who you are, it's good to know where you're at,
Yes.
but you got to know why. Where's it going wrong when it comes to inclusion? Because inclusion means people don't leave the organization.
Exactly.
People expected. They got a seat, they expect it. The junior person is looking up to KK, who's in the middle, senior management, and saying, I want to
Mm.
be like KK. I want KK to be my mentor. I would love KK to advocate for me. I can see myself at this organization, right?
Mm.
Without that, people jump ship.
Yes,
People
exactly.
jump ship
And
because they don't feel included. They don't see anyone that looks like them. It could be the same way for anyone from a diverse background. If there's if there's no if you can't see yourself somewhere, if you can't see more than just one of you or two of
oh,
you,
you quickly
why
pick
would
up
you
on that.
stay?
You quickly pick up on whether there's a true and authentic ambition to creating inclusiveness for your diversity when you're there. And obviously, if you get in and you all quickly feels that this just seems to be a numbers exercise on the diversity part, but there's not, it's just falling short on inclusion. Well, you're not really getting the benefits of it. You're not making people thrive and perform to their very best, and then you're not really getting the
Yeah,
financial benefit there is besides the
that's
whole,
right.
human argument for it. And I read
That's
a
right.
interesting kind of I listening into an interesting training about inclusion, and they mentioned um, three key aspect that needed to, in order for people to feel they belong, they need to
Hmm.
feel some level autonomy. You need to feel that
Hmm.
you are in control of your own boat, so to speak, or you have some kind of
Hmm.
decision making which makes you feel important, right? And you need to
Right.
have, you need to be able to connect to something. There needs to be something that connects you in the organization. And then you
Be
need
the
to,
values.
exactly, then you need to connect to the values, and uh, and then you need to be good at something. If you get those
Mm,
three in place, then you are on a great path for creating true inclusion and belonging, feeling a sense of belonging for people who are in
yes.
company. I think that's
Yes.
important to remember because, as you said, we need more, not just diversity in, what you call the lower level of an organization. We need to get them
Yeah.
into the leadership positions so they can
Right.
so they can be, mentors for other
Yeah.
people and
Yeah.
inspiration. And I think that was also one of the key outtakes from my research into the D&I is
Yeah.
from a workspace perspective, we need to get people, a diverse group, into the leadership and senior management roles. They are so important for creating ambassadorships and for creating mentorships and inspiration for
Yeah.
younger generations, for them to really see that they also can, succeed and really perform and elevate into the organization with an authentic expression of who they are.